Climate change is changes in Earth's climate system resulting in new weather patterns that last for at least a few decades and maybe for millions of years. Earth's climate has changed throughout history. Just in the last 650,000 years, there have been 7 cycles of glacial advance and retreat, with the abrupt end of the last ice age about 7,000 years ago, marking the beginning of the modern climate era and of human civilization. The difference between those stages of change and the tragedy that we are living in is that they were attributed to the very small variations in Earth's orbit that change the amount of solar energy that our planet receives, while in our scenario, the only thing that we can blame is ourselves, the human population. And cows, but we'll get into that. To further understand climate change, you probably need to be aware of the greenhouse effect. The Earth gets heat from the sun, and in our atmosphere, the greenhouse gases trap this heat and prevent it from going back into outer space. This process keeps our planet warm enough to live on. These greenhouse gases include methane, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and ozone. Our problem is that we as people have been producing too much carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gases. But the problem doesn't just end here. In fact, it gets worse. While carbon dioxide usually gets the blame for global warming, methane is about 85 times more powerful when it comes to trapping heat. Methane happens to be abundant in nature and a product of certain human activities. Along with this, it is also a natural byproduct of digestion, made by the microbes in an animal's gut that breaks down the food that we eat. This is where the cows come in. Unfortunately for us, methane from agriculture was responsible for 36% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions, according to a report from Euronews. If Americans didn't eat meat or drink milk as much as we do, we wouldn't be in this situation. But our agriculture business is dangerously high and still increasing. The planet's average surface temperature has risen about 1.62 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century, a change driven largely by increased carbon dioxide and other emissions into the atmosphere. But what exactly does this mean for our planet and its environment? For starters, our oceans have the ability to absorb huge amounts of carbon dioxide, preventing it from reaching the upper atmosphere. Increased water temperatures and higher carbon dioxide concentrations than normal, which make oceans more acidic, are already having an impact on oceans. Coral reefs are projected to decline by a further 70 to 90% at 1.5 degrees Celsius. At a warming of 2 degrees Celsius, virtually all coral reefs will be lost. It's not only a tragedy for wildlife. Around 500 million people rely on fish from coral reefs as their main source of protein. In our polar regions, climate change is amplified. The Earth's north and south extremities are crucial for regulating our planet's climate and are particularly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, which has global consequences. In our Arctic regions, average air temperatures have increased by about 5 degrees Celsius over the last 100 years. Recent data shows that there will be almost no summer sea ice cover left in the Arctic in the next few decades. As for Antarctica, the Antarctic ice sheet is the largest single mass of ice on Earth. It accounts for around 90% of all fresh water on Earth's surface and plays a vitally important role in influencing the world's climate, reflecting back the sun's energy and helping to regulate global temperatures. Forests are vitally important as they soak up carbon dioxide and help regulate the world's climate. They're also home to countless plant and animal species. Impacts vary in different kinds of forests. Subarctic boreal forests are likely to be particularly badly infected, with tree lines gradually retreating north as temperatures rise. In tropical forests such as the Amazon, where there's abundant biodiversity, even the modest levels of climate change can cause high levels of extinction. So how exactly can you and I help save our planet from dying due to climate change? Some preventions can be as simple as using public transportation, like taking the bus or riding your bike. Other beneficial preventions could be using a renewable source to power your home, such as wind turbines or solar energy. It's not too late to shift course, but every day that passes means the world heats up a little more and the costs of our inaction amounts. Every day that we fail to act, we step a little closer to the fate that none of us wants. The world is counting on all of us before it's too late, but will we rise to the challenge?
Today I'm appealing for leadership from politicians, from business and scientists, and from the public everywhere. We have the tools to make our actions effective. What we still lack, even after the Paris Agreement, is the leadership and the ambition to do what is needed. And what makes all of this even more disturbing is that we were warned. Scientists have been telling us for decades, over and over again. And far too many leaders have refused to listen. And far too few have acted with the vision the science demands. And we see the results. In some situations, they are approaching scientists' worst-case scenarios. The world's richest nations are the most responsible for the climate crisis, yet the effects are being felt first and worst by the poorest nations and the most vulnerable peoples and communities. Existing technologies are waiting to come online. Cleaner fuels, alternative building materials, better batteries, and advances in farming and land use. And these and other innovations can have a major role in reducing greenhouse gas emissions so we can hit the Paris targets and inject the great ambition that is so urgently needed. Let us use the next year for transformational decisions in boardrooms, executive suites, and parliaments across the world. Let us raise our sights, build coalitions, and make our leaders listen. There is no more time to waste. As the ferocity of this summer's wildfires and heat waves shows, the world is changing before our eyes. We are careering towards the edge of the abyss.